and welcome to Australia's first Let's Talk Tiny Houses podcast. My name is Christine, and ever since laying eyes on my first tiny house, I wanted to know more about the movement, the lifestyle, the communities, and most of all, how I can go tiny. While on my tiny journey, gathering information and meeting amazing like-minded people, I started thinking, apart from my business, how could I contribute back to the movement? Then I was introduced to podcasting, and that was my light bulb moment. I'm so thrilled that through this podcast, I am able to bring you an amazing cast of co-hosts who all bring their own unique skills, knowledge, and advice to each episode. All of us are extremely passionate about the tiny house movement and want to share our experience, expertise, and enthusiasm with our listeners. Each week, we will bring you a special guest interview or particular hot topic discussion that relates to tiny living for your listening pleasure. Okay, let's jump in and find out who we have with us this week.
You've got one tiny that you're working on at the moment that has a different inside, or inside the walls and inside every sort of item that's in there. What's special about that one that you've got there?
That's true. So that one there basically is one thing that we started doing from probably about last year. So it's been probably about a couple of years now. We worked out with a sustainable building consultancy company from Brisbane. We worked out with them basically to try and understand what options do we have in the market to build a tiny house as sustainable as possible, or as we could, or as is available out there. And we basically worked out through them with it's a really large document, and we ended up gathering a lot of products and products that we can replace to our standard conventional building methods, that they will be more focusing on the sustainability, the eco-friendly, the non-toxicity side of things, which means the products that they've been designed now to be recyclable or to have a sustainable aspect behind it, but also products that are designed as well to minimize the amount of chemicals and things that could have built into products that sometimes customers, they don't even know or they cannot see. And for some customers, it might not affect their health, but we have a lot of customers that they have health restrictions, or they have certain types of allergies and things like that. And we've been very happy to kind of work along with all these customers to identify what their needs are, how deep they want to go into this, to building a really green and eco-friendly house, and just kind of working around what their requirements are with those. So this project that you're mentioning, Patti, it's one of our projects that we're holding now at the moment in our work shed, and we're working with this beautiful couple, and they wanted to go with a lot of, or as much as they could, in regards to green products, sustainable products, natural products, and products that are non-treated, and they don't have a large amount of chemicals, let's say, built into those. So we've been very happy to kind of work with each customer to say, look, tell me, what are you happy for us to do? We definitely got to look into regulations and into restrictions and see if we can or cannot build with those materials. But most likely, if we can, we're just going to give you the options to say, are you happy to go ahead? Keeping in mind that unfortunately we live in a world that it's flip side down, and organic food should be the norm, but we pay more expensive for those. Eco-friendly, sustainable materials should be the norm, but we pay more expensive for those. So it's always a bit of a battle, because we want to try and give it a very affordable products, but at the same time, the sustainable materials, they're more expensive, which means it's a bit of a balance, and finding that balance with each customers.
Have you had any mobility challenged customers that you needed to adapt for their access?
That's a very good point, actually. We haven't had it yet. But now we started working with a couple projects and social programs, and they require actually those units. So we now have our architect upstairs. Basically, one of his to-do lists is actually we have to design, and we're starting already to design a disability unit. Now, it's quite hard to design a disability unit that works for all types of disabilities, of course. So what we're trying to do is to, of course, focus on certain types of disabilities first, but creating this concept. And now we've been working with actually a couple of customers that now are going through councils to get the permits for them to be able to use a tiny house as a disability unit in their property, rather than they needing to either put a brand new other dwelling on site or renovate and adapt all their current installations, which sometimes first puts a lot of stress into the whole family. It doesn't give the proper sort of flexibility and even the freedom of the disability person to have their own space and to have their own life and their own little corner that they can take their lives and not be needing to be sharing and somehow disturbing the rest of the family. So it's creating this kind of a flexibility and creating that mobile flexibility, because disabilities could even be temporarily, and you might just need that for a certain period of time, but not for the rest of the life. Or but we're definitely looking into those markets now. We see that there is a big need for those. It's a matter of now designing, and I believe we eventually going to end up probably opening a bit of a process here where we're going to be going and opening for disability units to be built, but we're going to have to most likely work on a custom design based, which will be, okay, let us understand your disability, let us understand what's required, and then we just build what's required to those.
Great. So continuing on that line of community engagement, you have some projects coming up this year that are really exciting. Can't divulge all the information right
yes.
now, but not yet. But it's so fantastic how the tiny house community and businesses really look to giving back as well. And one way is, as we interviewed Norm McGillivray from Bed Down, it's that helping with homelessness and seeing how over in America, how it's assisted over there. How can we do that here? So without divulging all the secrets, you've got some really exciting projects this year.
Yes, definitely. We finally started tackling those. Once again, like we were mentioning, I guess we live in a world that it's unfortunately flipped side down. I believe that all businesses should be somehow be doing something towards community, towards back to the society somehow. I don't believe this should be an exception in a way. And I think the tiny house businesses, they have already their mentality. They understand this. So definitely, I think we're looking on to starting more and more of these type of projects. But unfortunately, we cannot let things slip out yet because it's still on. There's a lot of fundings and things happening, and we still need to get a lot of confirmations. And we know that there is even a large waiting list for this project to happen. So we don't want to start alarming too much, but we just want to probably explain a little bit how, once again, the tiny house products could be used in a variety of different ways. And assisting and working along with social programs, it's probably a massive avenue. And this is what originally got us into this whole tiny house businesses and industry. We see that eventually the governments could, and the councils could be using tiny houses for a variety of different actually social programs, crisis accommodations, and even sort of all these needs that people sometimes have for short periods of time. So we've noticed that by working with all these sort of social programs and trying to kind of work along with them to understand their needs, we've noticed that homeless people is a massive demographics that it's only growing in Australia. And it's growing to all sorts of areas, not only men's, not only women's, not only, apparently women's over 50 years old. It's one of the largest demographics going into the homeless. Yeah. So this is the type of things that we believe that the tiny houses, they could be a beautiful product to assist with all those type of projects. First, because they are a lot more affordable and they are a lot more flexible, which means all the programs, rather than they needing to overdevelop a certain type of land to be able to put all of that infrastructure in, we can now come with a mobile infrastructure that we could eventually use lands for temporary, for a bit of a time. And we maybe could be even working along with businesses and large corporations to start seeing if they eventually could work on a way they could work on a concession and maybe donate their blocks of lands that they have spread all over the country that are just sitting and waiting for businesses, opportunities or markets to go up and things like this, and use those properties for all those sorts of programs. And if eventually they need to get the land back to do whatever they needed to do with the land, it's very easy and quick to sort of bring all of that setup back to how we started and move all of that structure with a very minimal cost to another land. And if we could eventually replicate this kind of a concept all over Australia, we would definitely be helping massively with this, all those sorts of, not necessarily homeless, but all those type of issues that we're having with society out there. So we're looking forward to this program and to this project, because we believe hopefully it's going to be a bit of a kickstart, and hopefully we're going to have people seeing and understanding what's being done there. They'll see the benefits, and then they could eventually just go and try and replicate on the areas, their councils or whatever they are. So definitely we see that the tiny houses, they're only starting to scratch the surface onto how they could assist society and not only businesses and individuals as well.
I think we've got another trip to the Sunshine Coast.
Oh, I think
coming once this is up.
Yeah, a few, definitely.
So check this one out.
Yeah, congratulations on doing that, Fabio, because it's fantastic. And look, I totally agree that every business, no matter how big or small, should be contributing back to the community in some form. So really great, really great. As I'm a pet owner of 4 cats, if people often say, how are you going to put your 4 cats in your tiny? Then what are you going to do with them? Fabio's like, yeah.
We'd be having a family of 5, 6.
Yes.
Sometimes living in a tiny.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
well, I go, the cats will love it, because what I'm going to do is put all little platforms.
Catwalks.
Yes,
So we've done a few of those.
Oh, you have?
Yes,
So
we've done a few of those.
Cool.
Not recently, a few of those actually. So we've been catering not only for the customers as well, but for the customers' pets as well, which is great. We see this affinity with tiny house customers with animals, with nature in general.
In that bottom drawer.
It's great.
Is that a feed?
It could be.
Or it could be
It
a
could
little
be
access
one of
panel.
those feeds onto
But you
those.
could put little dog and cat
Like
bowls,
cat
water bowl,
bowls
and
onto
food bowl,
those. But we've been working along with customers, so we've done a few of those pet doors that we install onto our sort of frames or doors or windows. We've done a lot of catwalks to link the animals from lofts to lofts, and to sometimes even avoid them going through big steps or stairs. We have done houses where we had a cabinetry stairs built in, and we created pet houses or little pet nooks inside and built in onto those. We are doing now a house that I think it's in about 2 to 3 months or so, that we're doing a very different pet house that it's going to be linking to an outside area, and they're going to be creating, I think they've got cats, and they're putting this tiny on a beautiful big acreage property. But of course, with acreage properties, you have other animals that we need to share with. So they were just concerned about snakes and things and animals that could eventually do some harm to the pets. So they are creating now a bit of an outdoor area for them to flow, almost like a cage. I wouldn't call it a cage because it's quite large. Enclosure. That's a great point. That's a really good. And then it will be linked directly to the inside of the house, just to create to the pet their own little sort of a space, security, and area as well. So
there's a company called Meow Manners. so they're cat enclosures, but they're luxurious.
Okay.
Cat,
large ones, I guess.
large ones, yes. So I could totally see a gorgeous little meow manor outside with a little inlet for them. Yeah, because one of mine, he likes to go out on they're all inside cats, but one goes out on the balcony on a little lead and has his little outside time. And I could totally see he'd be able to put himself out in his little meow manor and then bring himself back in.
That's it.
Yeah, he's a clever little boy. So I think that's one thing people often think about going tiny. Like, will I still be able to have my pets? So that's a good thing to know.
You mentioned you've had a family of 6, is it, that have...
Yes.
Have you gone into things like the netting
2, 3,
or...
It was
hammocking
5,
things?
not 6. My mistake, 5. But even though...
That's a lot of people in a small house. Have you done any like hammocks or netting?
Yes. We've done a lot of... We've done one hammock actually, which is one of those sort of a throw yourself type of hammocks that it's linking one loft to the other. And then we'd be doing a lot of kids hammocks as well, which is mostly for safety, but it's just to create those lofts and keep that safety up in the loft for the kids. But sometimes some of the parents are putting those nets just while the kids are going through their transition. And then if eventually they have an issue, then you have a safe net, and then you have another net that it can eventually...
I guess it'd stop all the toys and stuff from
falling
down.
And most of the time, actually, you find that the kids will spend a lot of the time up there. So it's good because it creates another play area for them.
What about rock climbing walls to get up to the loft? Rock climbing walls,
that was another very interesting one that we had actually long ago. We haven't ended up building, but we've designed for these customers. And basically the kids' loft was accessed by rock climbing grips. So we found a company that actually what they do is they design, it's not that they design the grips, they sell you the grips, but they design a route or something that keep the formation on how this should go. And you can eventually even change them across. And so it's almost like we needed to build a separate wall to go attach in front of the wall. And then they could play with their wall in regards to where they want those attachments to go. So very nice and interesting concept, but we wanted to design this way so then it was a short term, because we knew eventually the kids would be going, okay, now let's remove that wall and let's maybe put a conventional ladder.
Teenagers don't usually like that. Climb rock walls.
Correct.
They need a higher one.
Yes.
Or a more difficult one. So they just need one grip there and one grip up there, and they've got to get from here to there. So do like a bit of parkour.
Definitely.
So when we were having a look on your socials, we saw, I think was it down in Sydney or Melbourne, you had done something with Amazon Prime?
Yes, definitely. So we've done last Christmas, basically, we've done a big partnership with Amazon and Amazon Prime specifically, in order to donate a tiny house to a customer. It wasn't necessarily a customer from Amazon. Anyone could be going onto that drawing. And basically around December or so last year, which was when we were having all those issues with bushfires and all of that crazy situation that we've gone through, thanks God. But so what we've done is basically we've partnered up with Amazon. We had this house placed in Martin Place, right in the Sydney CBD, which was great. It was great for people to understand the concept, for them to be able to see, walk through and understand what a tiny house is. And it was great. But even better, I guess, was the outcome, because we ended up, basically people had to submit actually why they should think they should earn their tiny house as a Christmas present. And because we ended up having those bushfire issues, we ended up having a lot of customers and even a lot of people pointing out to people that were needing, or pointing out to people that they lost their homes and they needed something to kind of make their Christmas a little bit better, to give them a bit of a hope and to give them maybe a temporary place while they get things rebuilt in life. And this was actually one of the the chosen options, which was a single mother, basically in the North New South Wales, if I'm not wrong, not far from Coffs Harbour area. Single mothers already, look, I congratulate every single mother by itself. I'm a father, I'm a parent, and I know how hard it is. Just by being a single mother is already thumbs up for you. Hats off. And so she was a single mother that eventually lost her property in the bushfires, and she did not have actually where to basically go. She would need to start going she would need to start knocking people's door and even visit family, friends, and see if they could eventually stay there. We could eventually send the house to her and set up actually on the family's block of land. So it was a great actually initiative of Amazon as well. Hopefully we'll start seeing more businesses doing this type of things. We are looking on to starting actually very soon a crowdfunding basically to sort of assist and help us sort of build tiny houses for people, and for people, not only people, but even actually sometimes areas in need. So we've got a lot of emails and people coming to us now and just putting out their problems. We kind of are going through a bit of a selection now and going through all of them to see if we can kind of pick one that sort of fits most what we're trying to do. And then we want to try and hopefully create a crowdfunding page soon. We want to put what the issues are. We want to bring the problem out so people understand that this is happening out there and what type of problems are happening. And we want to hopefully just try and get people to help us just get enough funds for us to just get the material costs so we can build. We're not going to add any margins. It's just literally to purchase the products. We don't charge for our buildings. We'll be building for free. And then we just need the money to come in for the materials, basically. So we're hoping to start actually this crowdfunding very soon. We're just going for a bit of a selection now onto who or what case we should be looking into, basically.
Oh, fantastic. Well, you'll have to let us know about that as well.
Definitely,
that's another awesome
will. Like I
initiative.
said, as soon as we get all of this, we'll definitely be needing your assistance to try and get that funding, hopefully, coming through.
Yeah, oh, fantastic.
We've recently been to Sydney ourselves for a tiny house carnival with Atha, and we've seen you at the Noosa one, the festival we had up there. Is that something that you are you shying away from going to festivals now because you've got such a big hub going on here, or you're so busy? Are festivals sort of still on the realm for you?
Definitely. So definitely festivals are on our, pretty much actually, I believe the festivals, towards the mid, sort of the second part of the year, we'll be looking on to joining them. We just couldn't join actually some of these recent ones because we've been really extremely busy, and we were wanting to first focus on getting the business, getting the strategies, getting the foundations, getting the hub, the tiny house hub that I mentioned, up and going, because we can also go to those carnivals and all sorts of things, but we always want to try and create a 365 days a year carnival that people can come to visit our tiny houses as well. So we'll definitely we'll be participating on all of these carnivals. We just couldn't join these ones because we wanted to prioritize a few things first. So now we can sort of start getting a little bit more out there. But like I said, more than this, we wanted to kind of create options for customers that rather than they say, okay, let us wait for a full year, for 6 months or for 9 months until we can go and visit. No, you can come and visit actually once straight away.
What is your wait list at the moment? Do you have, you've got plenty of staff, but how long, if somebody came in today and said, I want a tiny, what sort of wait time are we looking at?
That's a pretty good question.
How long's a piece of string?
What happens is basically, last year we had actually our sort of a delivery time frames quite pushed back because of the demand and how much we could build as a business. And that's one of the reasons that we just moved into this new factory and facility, because this is literally almost like doubling our production capacity. It's tripling, almost 4 times the amount of tiny houses we can store and keep outside on our big yards. So it's giving us more capabilities. So there we can now start sort of giving smaller time frames and sort of just try and be able to help more customers. Yeah. So nowadays, if I'm not wrong, as far as I spoke to the building team about a couple of days ago, our delivery time frames are roughly towards the mid of the year. So a new customer that comes through now, they'll be taking delivery towards just before the financial year finishes. Yeah. So the end of June to the beginning of July. This is roughly what we're on at the moment.
And how quick is a build?
Building,
one build, or I guess
building time.
A number of builds at
correct,
the same time.
Correct, yeah. So we're now rolling a bit of a production actually
depending on what their needs
correct, the needs, how far we're building.
Yeah.
We're building.
Because I know with mine, like this is a while ago now, I think it said 6 weeks and you actually got it done a week early.
Yep, it was about 5.
Which was just phenomenal. It was just super. But now you're bigger and better. But you've got more things to juggle now.
Definitely more things to juggle. But at the same time, we're bringing more specialists to help us. So it's almost like now, back in the days when we used to start working with you, Patti, you probably remember, I myself used to do a lot and we had just a short, limited amount of staff. But now we've got specialists. So now we've got proper architects, we've got proper builders, roof plumbers, electricians. So we've got specialists and now they are focusing on only what they're good at, basically. And this is, of course, speeding up production. It's giving a lot more quality, of course, to what we're doing because we have specialists or experts in each single aspect. So
how long is the build?
Fantastic. And the build is nowadays it's come back. Yeah, we lost a little bit there for a second.
So good.
So building time now for us averages, of course, as you know, depending on models, depending on how fancy or how basic the tiny could be. But nowadays we're being able to kind of have a tiny house. By the time a trailer rolls in, we have to be rolling out in about 4 to 6 weeks. Building time. Of course, there is a lot of designing time, material waiting, and all these sorts of things that needs to put on the schedule. But building time now, we kind of get a really good hang of what we're doing. Like I said, we have a big team. We have indoor facilities, which is great, which means doesn't matter the rain, doesn't matter the outdoors. We can still keep producing. So roughly about 4 to 6 weeks building time. Could be a little bit more depending on the model.
Depending on the wait
some of the things, waiting lists. Definitely.
That's pretty quick then.
That's pretty quick. And ideally, like I said, we could even probably be building quicker, but there is a fine line in between building quicker and then losing quality as well. And having too many people coming and working at the same time.
It's not efficient.
Which is not efficient and it's not safe sometimes as well. So we just kind of find a kind of a sweet spot that we can kind of work in regards to speeding up against keeping the qualities as well.
Do you have more people, like I know I chose an empty shell, do you have more people choosing empty or complete?
A lot more people choosing complete, but we're always going to have the market choosing the part builds. And we're always going to be very happy to attend those markets because we actually love the fact that people were trying to do things themselves. They're trying to learn. They're trying to get out of their...
I still wanted something. I wanted to build something, but I didn't trust my skills to do the walls and the roof.
Correct. You wanted to be part of that as well. So we encourage people to say, if you've got the skills, if you've got people with skills, it's a great bouncing, even actually... program, I would say, that you guys could put yourself together and create and learn and evolve from there and understand that this is a house. It's been put together with a house. So you can do things. You don't need to rely on traders. You don't need to rely on builders to do every single thing in your life and in your house. We need to start creating a bit more of a self-resilience type of thing where people are learning and doing things more for themselves rather than always going, okay, let's pay someone to do this for me. Let's pay for someone to do this for me.
Definitely gone through that. So a few times I've built something, it was the kitchen cabinets or something, and it wasn't quite right. So I pulled it apart and I did it again and it worked. And I always thought, if I really stuff it up, then I'll call a tradie. But I still felt like I needed to try and make a mistake.
Yes.
But it was certainly part of the journey.
And that's the learning process. So some people are willing to go through this, and we're very happy to work along with them. Some people, they say, look, we don't want to go, or we don't have the time, or we don't have the means to do it. No problem, it's fine. We'll give you a full finished product. Otherwise, we're more than happy to work with customers. We have a lot of customers, they say, look, we love to paint. We said, no problem. When I run you a quote, I'll run you a quote without the paints. Just let me know what type of things are you happy to do yourselves. Of course, we don't like them to be doing, and that's why we created our bare minimum product, which is what we call a lock-up, which is an engineered trailer, subfloorings, waterproofing, engineered frames, windows, doors, and everything cladded and roofed, which means structure-wise, you're safe. You've got engineers signing off. You've got professional builders putting that for you. You've got engineered trailer. You've got basically a professional that it's guaranteeing that that building is watertight, which means then from the inside, from the frames all the way up to a completely house on the inside, we leave the customers free to choose what they want to do for themselves.
You don't want to DIY compromising all your good work.
No, definitely. And we even believe
for
actually
the safety of everybody on
that's
the road.
correct. And even for
and
the
the people
safety,
in it.
that's it.
Yeah.
And even for the safety of the whole tiny house movement.
Absolutely.
Because it's only going to take one person to be building the way they should think that they should, and that way is not the right way. And if there is an accident, if there is an issue, if there is something happening, everyone will be affected. And when I mean everyone, it's not only myself as a builder. It will be everyone in the community. It will be even those social programs that we were speaking about, that eventually the councils now are looking into maybe using them, and they might say, okay, no, we don't find this is a safe product. Or so it could actually put a lot of rocks on the road of this sort of a journey. If people are eventually building or just building the way they should be building. And that's why we decided to create a bare minimum product, which is the lock-up, which at least with guarantee is going to be a safe, watertight, engineered structure. You can take as long as you want to finish the inside. The water is not going to be the issues. So it's giving these options as well, but making sure that people are the right things are getting done by right people with right qualifications, basically.
Oh, that's fabulous. I think we've covered everything, which is fantastic. And when we were talking to people down at St Ives, they had all these questions, and they really wanted to get a sense of yourself and Aussie Tiny Houses and what's going on. And so it's been really great. So thank you so much, Fabio, for having us here, having us in the gorgeous little tiny.
No, pleasure. Thank you.
The sun's beaming in now.
I
know.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. So everyone can pop on your website, aussietinyhouses.com.au. You've got all your models on there,
Yep.
all your services, contact details.
We've got not even all our models, because as we mentioned, we do a lot of things that it's not even on our website, and it gets too overwhelming for people if we add 60, 70 tiny house designs onto a website. So there is definitely a lot on our website, but I would say that we always get encouraging people to get in touch with us over the phones, emails, whatever feels comfortable, or even actually walking through our workshops and explaining what are your needs, explaining what are your wants. Tell me, what do you like? Because even maybe everything that I've got on our website, it might not be what you want. So we want to kind of make sure that we're building something that is specific, tailored to that customer.
I'm sure you're going to get lots of inquiries, as you already do, and we'll be able to answer questions from our listeners much better now that we've done our little interview. And it's just fantastic, so exciting. And I was just really happy that people were asking about you down in St Ives. So I was like, yay!
That's great to hear.
And it's exciting year ahead as well with the community engagement projects, and lots on the horizon. So we'll keep up to date with that, and keep our listeners up to date, and do a few more trips up to the sunny coast.
Please.
Yeah, so thank you again, Fabio. We'll sign off for now. Thank you, Patti.
You're welcome. What a fun day.
Excellent day. These are my favourite days. So we'll sign off for now, and put all your contact details and socials up on our show notes and on all our socials, so everyone will be able to get in touch really easy.
Thank you, and thanks for the opportunity as well for you guys to open our doors to all the listeners as well, for them to come a little bit into our tiny house, even though if they're not physically. I hope they be at least participating into this conversation, and hopefully they can get some useful information out of that.
Oh, certainly would. Wow, what a great episode. I would like to thank you for listening, and I really hope you enjoyed this week's discussion. I would like to now invite you over to our exclusive Facebook group, where you as our listeners will be able to interact with us, each other, see photos and additional extras that accompany each episode, and be the first to know what we have coming up. If there is a particular topic you would like to hear more about, or someone you think we need to interview, please drop us a line at letstalktinyhouses@gmail.com or via our Facebook group. You can find this podcast series on iTunes, Spotify, or your favourite podcast app. And while you're there, please show your love by giving us a rating. Hopefully it's 5 stars. Our show notes will be available on Podbean, along with any podcast corrections and amendments. The Let's Talk Tiny Houses podcast is brought to you by myself, Christine Murphy, and my business, OCD, Organising, Cleaning and Decluttering Specialist, which can be found on Facebook or through my website, ocdpro.com.au. I would like to thank all my co-hosts for their amazing contributions, and Joanne Helder for editing all our audio and making us sound so fabulous. Until next week, please take care and enjoy yourself.